Right, good morning, everybody. My name's Karl Lehman from Dream It, Plan It, Live It, and I'm joined today by the lovely Louise Jenner. Say hello, Louise.
Hello, how are you?
I'm great, thank you for asking, and I'm really excited to be talking to you today. For anybody watching these videos, we've done a whole series of interviewing all sorts of people from business, people from sports backgrounds, but it's about bringing some hope, some positivity, some resilience into the world right now. And obviously, with the world being as it is, and we've got furlough about to end in the very short-term future. So that's a great segue, I think, Louise, to ask you to explain who you are and what you do exactly.
Okay, so my name's Louise Jenner. I'm known as the Dream Job Coach. And as you might guess, that means that I help people with their career planning, with career coaching, and also because not everybody's dream job is to have a job. You know, some of us like to be our own bosses. I also help people to do that and have a separate arm, which is called the Dream Biz Coach, which is where I do that business coaching for individuals as well.
Brilliant. So I think it's super relevant for the current economic climate where people are considering, what they're going to do. People are sort of, as you said, we had a little preamble, didn't we, before sort of hitting record, and it's about people are facing redundancy. People are looking at all sorts of different options. I was talking about a client of mine that last year was facing bankruptcy, and now they're having the best time of their lives, really. So there's all sorts of things there. Just by way of background, I'm curious because you were in corporate life, weren't you, before you became a coach in terms of what you do. So my question to you, what was the final straw that kind of gave you the energy or momentum to make that change in your life?
A tree fell on my head.
Literally?
Literally. You don't know this, do you?
No, I don't know this. No. Wow. Go for it.
You're glad you asked now. Yeah, I always joke that it took me 4 years to make the overnight decision to quit my job. I'd been in my job for 17 years. I was in retail management. I loved it for the vast majority of that time.
Yeah.
But over the last 4 years, various different things happened. I might these days call them sort of signs from the universe were
Right.
happening to say to me, you need to slow down, you need to change your lifestyle, you need to do something different, what are you up to? Signs that I studiously ignored, like managing to slip a disc while sat on my ergonomically designed office chair at work.
Right.
I don't know what bigger sign you need that perhaps this is not the right work environment, but anyway,
Yeah.
I ignored that. I ignored being overlooked for promotion, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Kept on. And then we were away in Prague, having a little few days away to celebrate my dad's 70th birthday. This was May 2013. And my dad's birthday was in December. So there's another sign, isn't it? The fact that you can't get away with your dad for his 70th birthday for 5 months
Right.
because of your work commitments.
Right.
And we were sitting having a lovely lunch overlooking the river near the Charles Bridge in Prague. And
Yeah.
the table that I'd wanted to sit at had been taken. So we were sitting under a canopy shaded from the sun.
Yeah.
Second bottle of wine, all going very nicely. And suddenly there were fireworks, or what sounded like fireworks. And I'm like, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. How are there fireworks in broad daylight? And with that thought, the whole world came crashing down on our heads. And what had happened was a tree on a neighbouring piece of ground, which was higher up, a huge branch had split off this main trunk and come crashing down across this restaurant terrace. The canopy that we were under, more by luck than judgment, broke its fall, but took a little bit of a bang to the head. Obviously, I'm here, so it wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
And we were all okay. There were other people with head injuries and things from the fall. And fortunately, the table that I'd wanted us to be sitting at that was taken, those people had already left. Because if we had been sitting at the table that I wanted to sit at, I wouldn't be here to tell you the story today, because there's no way that you would have survived the fall of the tree branch in that position. So that's what made me, in the end, go, do you know what? Life is too short.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was reading a book at the time called Be a Free Range Human, which is a great book by a lady called Marianne Cantwell. I strongly recommend it. And in that book, the one line, I mean, it's all brilliant, but the one line that really stood out for me was she asked this question: if you only had one life, what would you do with it? You have, you know.
Yeah.
Now, I'd heard life is not a dress rehearsal, you've only got one, all of that stuff,
Yeah.
millions of times before, but it was that time in my life, it was the right time for it to be phrased in that way.
Yeah.
And I just thought, you know what? I wouldn't spend my whole life selling sofas. I worked for a big,
Yeah.
famous sofa retailer.
Yeah.
So I came back from that trip. I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I wrote my letter of resignation. I drove to find my area manager and handed in my notice without a single clue, really, not properly, of what I was going to do next. I just knew that enough was enough. If I'd gone that day, if I'd been sitting in a different place, if that tree had hit differently, I would have been remembered as the woman who sold sofas.
Wow.
And that didn't really seem like a good enough legacy, you know.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
loved it. I'm very grateful for my career. I loved working for that company. I learned a huge amount there, but enough was enough, and that was in 2013. So I went through what so many people are going through now. Back then, I went through all of the, oh my goodness, what have I done? What am I going to do now? I haven't got a paycheck coming in next month. You know, remember, I didn't wait for redundancy. I didn't get paid to leave. I just went, I've had it. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, what am I going to do? So I wasn't foolish. You know, I had a bit of a financial cushion there.
Sure.
You know, maybe I wouldn't have been able to do it otherwise,
Yeah.
but I did it. And I knew, okay, I need to take some time out. I need to get some headspace. And I think that's what people miss now. And maybe what the lockdown has given people and furlough has given people is the ability to find some headspace and to have a bit of a think about whether you want to go back to the old ways of working or whether you do want to do something different. But I think it really helps if you've got that kind of impetus of, oh, you know, like I had, oh my God, right, that is it, enough is enough.
Mm.
If someone like me now had been around for me then,
Mhm.
maybe it wouldn't have taken me 4 years and a tree falling on my head to make the change.
Mm.
You know, maybe I could have saved myself a lot of pain and heartache, but I did go through those years. So I do know what it feels like. I know what all the frustrations and stress and aggravation feels like. And I know how important it is to get some headspace. And what I would say is that what I try and do through my coaching is to give my clients the opportunity to get that headspace.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even if it's only an hour a month, actually getting the stuff that's going around in your head at 3 o'clock in the morning out,
Yeah.
talking it through with somebody who's not your partner, not your best mate,
Yeah.
not your boss,
Yeah.
that gives those people the opportunity to just get that valuable headspace.
I mean, you and I share a similar sort of commonality in terms of, I'm a financial planner, but I work in a very much of a kind of coaching model type mentality. So what you say there really resonates very. But having known you a while, I'm stunned at that story. I can't believe I didn't actually sort of know that. So thank you for sharing that. That's really
Well,
quite profound, isn't it?
thank you. And if anybody wants to read it and see some of the pictures of the tree and the restaurant and all of that kind of stuff, there is a My Story post on my website. So
Oh, right.
you can
Okay.
go and have a read through and have a look at some of the pictures. It's yeah.
Brilliant. Well, hopefully people don't need, a tree or anything else falling on them to, make those changes. But as a coach and, as a financial life planning coach, working with people, one of the things that I tend to find is that very often people live lives of what I call quiet desperation. They're kind of stuck in this groove and they don't actually sort of make the move out, or they don't know how to make the move out. And it's not until you kind of put the mirror in front of their face and you get them to look at it with, real, critical sort of analysis about saying, well, what do you want from your life? I mean, one of the things that we ask our clients is, if you died yesterday, what's your one biggest regret in life? And that's usually quite a profound answer that kind of comes out from people. And it just gets people to think about their own mortality and actually sort of, we don't necessarily have tomorrow. But that said, people I think do have very exciting tomorrows. I know right now we're in the middle of this kind of pandemic, worldwide pandemic, but out of adversity, I firmly believe, comes opportunity. So, the question I've got for you is, when most of you been inspired by working with a client? Give us an example of, the work that you've done and, how that's kind of inspired you, Louise.
Oh, that's a good question. I get inspired by my clients all the time. The person who came into my head right then was, maybe it's because I've been thinking back to the beginning and what started me on my business. But I had a client right in the beginning who was already doing the working from home thing that everybody's getting used to now. Okay.
Right.
So she was employed, but she was working from home. In fact, she was working from her garage.
Yeah.
And so she was facing these 3 concrete walls every day. And she was dealing with, quite a big company she was working with up in London, and she was doing this really detailed work. And but she had so much else to offer.
Right.
So much more to offer. And she was into amateur dramatics, and she was into fitness, and she was really into money.
Right.
Really into money. And so she was a really inspiring person, because she said, I've been doing this, sitting in my garage for donkey's years. I think it's my time. I think it's time that I did something for me. And we worked together and figured that actually what really floated her boat was, she didn't want to be a financial advisor. She didn't want to do all the qualifications and all of that kind of stuff. But what she did want to do was just help people to be able to manage their own budgets.
Okay.
And to stop wasting money on silly stuff.
Yeah.
Which we all do, don't we?
We all do that.
I call them the sticking plaster purchases. When you work really hard and you get a day off, and you back in the day when we were allowed to go outside and stuff, go shopping, buy a pair of shoes, not because you need another pair of shoes, Louise. Just because you can, just because you work hard. If you want a pair of shoes, have a pair of shoes,
Yeah.
or a handbag, or
Yeah.
get your nails done, or whatever it is. These things make you feel good in that moment, and you deserve them, right?
Right.
But later on, when you're thinking, how am I going to make this money stretch, or whatever, you're thinking, why did I blow 100 quid on a pair of shoes?
Bit of buyer's remorse clicks in. Yeah.
All of that, So she was about that. She was about let's help people manage the money they have so that it goes further, so that it works for them, so that it, and then that will enable people to change their lives. So I was thinking, this is really inspiring. This is what you're about. This is what I'm about. This is what she's about. She went on to do money coaching qualifications, and she is now a money coach. So hi, Fanny, if you're watching.
Yeah, sounds like a absolutely great service there, and obviously she's found her heart's desire, and I think that's really important. We spend a lot of time at work, don't we? So you've got to be passionate about what you do.
We do, and I think I've worked with so many different types of people in so many different industries and businesses now. I thought, because I had a background in retail and hospitality, that I would attract a lot more people from those industries who wanted to get on in those industries. But that hasn't been the case. It might be now, because obviously retail and hospitality are being particularly hard hit at the moment. But I've worked with so many different types of people. And the one thread of commonality, so this is really in answer to your question about what inspires me about my clients, I'm inspired by the people who want to help other people, or the planet, or animals, or whatever it is. So it's the people who are searching for purpose,
Yeah.
or meaning in their work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think there are three main drivers, okay, motivational drivers.
Okay.
This is according to some work by a guy called Dan Pink. He wrote a brilliant book called Drive. And then the three main drivers that we have are autonomy, mastery, and purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So as we all know, we're not actually motivated by money. We're motivated by maybe the things that we can do with the money. That's great.
Right. Money's just an energy. It allows you to do stuff, good or bad.
Yep. So these motivational drivers, one or more of these might resonate with you. You might have all three in an equal amount, but more likely one of them will stand out for you more than others.
Okay.
So autonomy is the thing that quite often makes us be self-employed, because we're like, I'm fed up being told what to do by an incompetent manager. I don't want to do that anymore. Yeah. I want to be my own boss. I want to be in charge of my own schedule. I want to be in charge of my own calendar. I want to do what I want. I want to be paid on results rather than, time clock, all of that.
Yes.
So that's autonomy.
Okay.
Mastery is the thing. I reckon that you may resonate with this, Karl, because mastery is the kind of thing that would drive somebody to learn to play the guitar, even if they never had any intention of being a rock star.
Right.
So mastery is about getting good at something and being known for being good at something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or even you knowing that you're good at something.
Yeah. I'm not known for being good at playing that Fender up the corner there, but I can but dream.
and you know what the chords are, and you've been learning for it. It's that stuff, isn't it? It's the stuff that makes people do things for free. It's
right.
when you so if you look at Wikipedia and other organizations that have sprung up over the last decades, where people WordPress, where people are actually giving their knowledge and sharing their knowledge because they know it and it's important and they want it to be out there. So it's that autonomy. It's that mastery of being really good at something.
Okay.
But purpose, the purpose driver,
yeah.
Whatever it is I'm doing needs to have meaning. I want it to be purposeful. I want to know that I'm doing good in the world.
Yes.
That's the one for me that really inspires me.
Yeah.
I'm really happy for people who want to get good at stuff. We need people being good at stuff to do good in the world, don't we?
Yeah.
And I've got loads of autonomy driving me.
Yeah.
After 17 years of being employed. But the purpose driver is important. That's what I find really inspiring.
Awesome. I was going to say to you, actually, that was my next question. What is your key driver? So there we go.
So my key one is purpose.
Yeah.
And then followed up by autonomy. So that doesn't mean that the mastery isn't important. Clearly I'm just rubbish at what I do next. Doesn't mean that. But it's purpose. And I'm really fascinated by the ripple effect that happens when you are purpose-led in the work that you do. So I believe, from the tips of my toes, I believe that if we were all working in our dream job or our dream business, I believe that we would have peace on earth.
Mm-hmm.
Because why would anybody pick up a gun or raise a fist in anger or be violent if they were in their dream job?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're too busy being brilliant, you're not likely to be violent. So I also appreciate that, me at home here in sunny South Devon, can't get everybody to be in their dream job. But I know for every one person that I help, many other people are inspired by their change in behavior.
Absolutely.
There's this ripple effect that happens, and it's very, very powerful.
Absolutely. In my previous position, we did a coaching program with a guy called Dan Sullivan, coach program, and he was a real advocate of understanding with some clarity that every one of us has a unique ability. So finding breakthrough in life is trying to uncover what you're uniquely gifted at doing and focus on doing that. So once you know that, is then as an organization, you then create a unique ability team. So everybody starts playing to their strengths. And in my practice, we call it the dream team. So my practice manager, Dawn, is a very different personality type, has a very different skill set to me. But I call her my work wife because, my goodness me, she is absolutely the bedrock upon which everything else is built within the practice. But she's completely different to me, but she's playing to her strengths. And Harry, my eldest son, he's a different personality type, but again, he brings a different dynamic. And I think if people can uncover what their unique abilities are, then you just really enjoy, don't you, what you do? I mean, I love what I do. You can't feign this stuff, but I do understand a lot of people out there probably watching this and thinking, actually, I don't love what I do, or I am frustrated. So what are the next steps that they can do, Louise? Think about people who are, in this kind of mindset at the moment that they're locked. What can they do to help themselves?
So the first thing that I would say is, instead of going around at 3 o'clock in the morning, while you're in bed, just churning that stuff over, get some of it on paper or speak to somebody about it. Don't be afraid to share those thoughts and feelings. Now, understand that if you choose a family member, choose the right one. They love you. They care about you. They want you to stay safe. Okay. So family members are quite likely to say, they're there. It'll be all right. Just keep your head down. Just keep going. It'll be okay. We've got holiday booked in a month's time. It'll be fine. Because we love our family members and our good friends. So, but it's better to talk to them than to talk to nobody. It's better than just talking to yourself in your head. You know what they say about people who talk to themselves. So, and really the best thing that you can do is talk to somebody who is outside and independent. And, of course, I'm going to say that's me. But yeah, you can get a free career clarity session with me, an hour and a half. You have to pay a penny. Just come online, just like you and I are now, Karl, have a chat, and I will take you through a series of questions to help you start to get clear about what it is that you want to do. And it may be what you're doing now, just in a different way or in a different company, but it may be something completely different, who knows? And when I first started this, of course, I thought, I wonder if I can help everybody. I wonder, can everybody do this? And the more people that I work with and the more people I help, I can honestly say that everybody knows, even those of you out there going, yeah, but I just don't know what I want to do. Yes, you do. You've just buried it. You've buried it very, very deeply. And we need to, take some time to unpick it and unbury it and see. And it doesn't take as long as you might imagine. And it certainly doesn't take as long when you're doing it with a coach as it would do if you tried to do it on your own. Look at me, 4 years to make the overnight decision to quit. And then you just go, that's it, I'm off. Not everybody's in the position to be able to do that.
Yeah. And you can't do it yourself. I mean, I've been doing what I do now for just over 30 years. And, even now, I will still sit down with a colleague of mine to do my financial life planning session, because if I ask myself the same questions that I ask our clients, it's hard to do it. But if somebody there, and I've got this colleague who I really, really trust, he's brilliant. And when he asks me the same questions back at me, I don't like it. I kind of squirm in my seat. He said, look, Karl, he said, this is the sort of thing that you ask your clients day in, day out, but look at you now. But it's quite hard, isn't it? Because you're being asked challenging questions. But the great thing is there, he would not let me off the hook.
Exactly.
He wouldn't let me take the easy option. No, Karl, you give me your first answer. What's really the answer behind that? What's really there? And he knows me well enough and can read my body language to know actually, that's just a dismissive thing that I've said, but actually the truth is somewhere behind that. And uncovering the truth is real, those kind of aha type moments, aren't they? And it's just fantastic when you find that kind of that groove, that flow, and then everything just seems to click into place, as they say.
Yeah, and it's so important, if somebody is thinking about, I want to change, I can't stay here any longer, I can't do this job any longer, I've fallen out of love with this job, I do want to change, but I just don't know what I could do instead. Getting clear is the fundamental piece that will determine whether you're successful. If you don't get clear, what happens is when that final straw that breaks the camel's back comes along and you go, right, that's it, I'm off. If you're not clear about what you want to do and you jump into something straight away, that is very likely to start off a whole series of job hops.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where you go,
Yeah.
oh, I was missold the job. Oh, I just, I had to get a job, so I got that one, and it wasn't any good. And oh, I should have stayed where I was in the first place. And and we go into this spiral of doom and despair because we didn't take the time to get clear about what was wrong with the old job,
Yeah.
and B, what the positive opposite of that would look like.
Mm,
Yeah, what is it that you do want? And we focus so much, the way to get it wrong is to focus on what's wrong with the job that you're in and run away from that.
hmm
Because all you'll do is run away to a similar version of it.
Right.
Because you get what you picture.
Yeah.
It's that law of attraction thing. So
Yeah.
if you're focusing on what you don't want, you're going to get more of what you don't want.
Absolutely.
Whereas if you say, okay, these are the bits that I'm dissatisfied with, what is the opposite of that? What does good look like? What does great look like? What does amazing look like?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, now we're getting close to dream job land.
Yeah.
And then when we start focusing on looking for that, you can tell, can't you, by what I'm saying? Your odds of finding it are hugely raised.
Yeah.
And also a great benefit of this is that when this is feedback that I've had from my clients who, I'm thinking of somebody recently who came to me and she's like, I don't know that I can go back, she's driving me mad, this boss is ready to kill somebody. And she said after she had the clarity session in the first session, and she said, you know what, the day job's better
Right.
already. Nothing's changed there, has it? She's still got the wicked boss and she's
Yeah.
still got to go to the same place. But actually, her ability to deal with it has now improved because she knows she's working on her way out.
Right. And there's a different energy involved in that then, isn't there?
Yeah. And I guess you probably have the same thing. We were talking earlier, weren't we, about a client of yours. And, if somebody is in desperate straits financially, thinking, oh my God, I'm going to go bankrupt, I'm going to lose the house, I'm going to all of this.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as they start to see somebody and talk about their financial planning and what they can do, funnily enough, it's not so scary anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, funnily enough, it starts to, okay, so I'm actually looking this thing square in the eyes. And now I can see how I can get around it or over it or whatever. So it's exactly the same, I think, with career and business issues.
It's a bit like that acronym, isn't it? Fear, false evidence appearing as real. Often, the anticipation of an event is actually worse than the event itself. Because we make stuff up in our mind. That's, the way we're wired to kind of protect ourselves. But sometimes you just need to kind of hit it head on and confront it, don't you? And, I'm sure there are people watching this right now who've got some really difficult choices ahead. But the important thing to recognize is that they do have choice. They can choose to actually, make opportunity out of this adversity, or they can just choose to have more of the same and never actually get the fulfillment that they're looking for.
Yeah, this reminds me of some sales training that I had many, many years ago, and it's all to do with being able to handle rejection.
Okay.
So if you're in sales, you need to understand that not everybody is going to buy your stuff. Okay, some people are going to say no, and that's okay. And the thing is that people who are scared of rejection tend not to ask for the order or for the
Okay.
business
Yeah.
because they're scared that someone's going to say
They
no.
know. Yeah.
And the reality, of course, is when you stop and think about it, is if you don't ask, the answer is no. Because, it's always no until you ask. It's only when you ask that at worst you've got a 50% chance of it being yes. And depending on how you ask and everything else, you can raise those stakes as well. And this is the same thing, isn't it? Just until you do something about it, you are just staying stuck with that no, with that horrible negative situation. That's how to make it carry on longer than it needs to, is to just not do anything about it. But doing something and speaking to somebody else, speaking to somebody who's been through it, speaking to somebody who has worked with other people that have had the same problem as you, that's a really good action to start you on that path towards getting what you do want.
Absolutely. And so anybody watching this, if you're hearing this stuff and it's kind of resonating with you, then, do reach out to Louise. She's offering you an hour and a half, session here to discover more. So if people want to reach out to you, Louise, how's the best way for them to do that?
So the easiest way is to go to my website. So it's very simple. It's myname.com. So louisejenner.com. And on the very first page there, you'll see a link to book your free career clarity session online. We'll just take it from there. But I'm also all over social media everywhere. So feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, wherever you feel like you want to be.
Yeah, you do a lot of networking as well, don't you, to
Do.
help, so do you want to give a shout out to a couple of things that you're involved with there?
Yeah, definitely. So tomorrow morning, the highlight of my week, I like to end the week on a high, is Laptop Friday. So Laptop Friday is for people who work from home, people who are freelance, people who are self-employed, can get online on a Zoom call like this and have a chat about the week. And I'll facilitate the conversation. So we usually have some pretty wide-ranging conversations there. You get to know a few different people, which is always really good because, as they say, you have to network to get work. Another one that I'd like to give a shout out to, Karl, you're also a member of, so that's The Networking, hosted by our friend Simon Dolly. And that's every other Thursday morning.
It is indeed.
Yes. And I also do one for members of my group on Facebook. So I've got a group on Facebook called the Dream Job Club.
Right.
So people who are already in their dream jobs and people who aspire to be in their dream jobs are welcome. And we do Dream Job Chat every other Monday evening at 6 o'clock. So
brilliant. You're a busy lady.
I am. I like it. I have plenty of downtime in between.
Yeah.
And busy is relative, isn't it? Okay, so when you've done 17 years of retail management, working every Sunday, every Saturday, every Sunday, and every bank holiday, and only getting one day off a week, this isn't busy.
Yeah.
That was busy.
Is there anything else you think we should be talking about at all, Louise?
I would like to say to people, if there's one thing that you take away from today, is if you are thinking of changing your job, either because you have to or because you want to, please don't just get a generic CV and chuck it out everywhere.
Right.
Okay, that really is the worst way of trying to find your dream job or any job. In fact, if you just want to find any job, that's the way to do it. Because if you're sending a generic CV out everywhere, something might crop up, but what are the chances of it being your dream job, huh?
Right.
So what I would say is if you know what you want to do, make sure that your CV is tailored to that and that you are very selective with where you send it.
Right.
So that would be a top tip. If you are there thinking, I need to work on my CV and then I need to go scroll a load of job sites, it's not about getting one CV and then sending it everywhere. It's about being very selective about who you want to work with and sending them a compelling CV that they will actually want to read.
Yeah, I guess when you're an employer or anybody in the selection process, you get a whole wad of sort of
Oh,
CVs, don't you? So how are you going to stand out from the million and other one of the people on the desk? You know, if you can do something that's different, or tuning in a different way, it's going to put you ahead of the pack, isn't it? Really?
yes, 100%. And you're right. Back in the day when I was hiring people for the company that I work for, CVs and application forms did used to hit the desk with a big thud.
Right.
Now, of course, they just fill up somebody's inbox.
Yeah.
Okay, now you know what it's like. We all get overflowing email inboxes. Yeah. So these days, your CV hits the inbox for the person whose job it is to sift through them all. And your CV first impression is, that's more work. Oh God, there's another one.
There's
That's
another
more
one.
work.
Yeah.
Okay. So if that's the first impression, the second impression has got to be, oh, that's a bit different.
Yeah. Bit fresh. Yeah.
Oh, that's a bit, not just black on white and all of
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. So that's why my friend here is on the is on my my chest of drawers behind. Can you see this guy?
Yes.
Why do I have a pink sheep?
I've got no idea. It was crossing my mind as we were talking, I have to say.
My pink sheep there is to remind you that even if you're a sheep and you look like everybody else in the field, you can still stand out. It's not, it's not an advert for hair dye or anything. It's not about that, but it's just to remind us, okay, so there's loads of administrators going for an administrator's job. How are you going to stand out?
Yeah. Yeah.
Be a pink sheep.
Brilliant. So thank you very much, Louise, for spending your time with us today. That's been really insightful. I hope people get a lot from the wisdom that you shared here, and please do reach out to sort of Louise. I've known Louise for most of the time that I've been down here in Devon now, and I've got to say I love the way you work. Your coaching sort of. Some of the things that I've seen you speak on, at different networking events and so forth, every time you say something, I always think it's profound. You leave me with a little bit of a wow. So I don't say that lightly. So ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching this and you're looking for help in terms of, designing your ideal business or your ideal career, then reach out to Louise. I'm sure she can help you, and, you'd be in safe hands. So thanks for your time, Louise. And I'll look forward to catching up with you real soon.
Thank you, Karl. It's been my absolute pleasure.
Awesome. Take good care. Cheers,
Bye.
everyone. Bye for now. Let me just...